My name is Reddy Carter, and I am 25 years old. My father threatened to take away my scholarship if I exposed my sister's betrayal, so I waited. Years later, her secret came out at her wedding, and I watched the perfect image they built collapse. I'm not sure how to start this, but let's just say my family had a golden child, and it wasn't me. I used to think that keeping my head down was the smartest way to survive, until I realized how deeply the lies were woven into everything we called family. What started as a quiet betrayal grew into something far larger, and I ended up doing something no one expected from me. I fought back quietly. My father loved to describe our family as a model of success. If you asked anyone who knew us, they'd probably say we looked polished, impressive, untouchable. Dad is a lawyer who treats our last name like a brand. Everything he owns, his firm, his house, his children, is an extension of that image. He straightens silverware before guests arrive and corrects grammar mid-sentence. Control is his love language. My mother is soft-spoken and endlessly agreeable, the perfect supportive wife. She claims to balance him out, but in reality, she enables him. Her favorite sentence is, "Your father just wants what's best for you," which she says right before siding with him every single time. Then there's my older sister, Evelyn, the golden daughter, the pride of the Carter family. If Evelyn succeeds, Dad brags. If she fails, it's framed as growth. When I succeed, it's expected. When I fail, it's personal. Evelyn has always known how to charm a room. Beautiful, confident, magnetic. She could smile her way out of anything, and Dad adored her for it. He used to say, "Evelyn has presence, Reddy just needs direction." Translation, Evelyn shines, Reddy follows. I was the quiet one. I worked part-time, studied late, avoided parties, avoided drama. I didn't chase attention. I preferred results. My family found me boring. I found that freeing. Then came Daniel. We met in law school. Same business law class, same shared annoyance at professors who treated PowerPoint slides like personality traits. By then, I was a third-year law student on a scholarship I earned myself, even though it was technically funded through my father's foundation. Daniel was ambitious but grounded, confident without being loud. He made me feel seen in a way no one else ever had. After 3 years together, he was the first person who made me believe I wasn't just the extra Carter. He met my family. That's when everything started to shift. Evelyn noticed him immediately. At first, it looked harmless, helping him pour wine at dinner, laughing a little too hard at his jokes, complimenting his tie, calling him dangerously charming, like it was a joke. I told myself I was imagining things. Evelyn flirts with everyone. That's who she is. But then Daniel started changing whenever we went to family gatherings. He dressed better, smelled better, paid more attention to how he looked. He laughed at everything Evelyn said. Every single thing. I caught her touching his arm during conversations, leaning in just a second longer than necessary. One night, during a dinner my father hosted for firm clients, I saw them standing together across the room. Evelyn laughed, covering her mouth like a teenager. Daniel looked at her like she was the only person there. I forced myself to look away, because the alternative meant accepting that my own sister would cross a line she was never supposed to touch. Over the next 2 weeks, Daniel started helping Evelyn with projects. She claimed she was mentoring him, guiding his interest in corporate law. That should have been my role. I told myself it was nothing. Then came the night I stopped lying to myself. It was a Thursday. Daniel said he was staying in to finish a report. I stopped by his apartment after work with his favorite takeout, because I'm the kind of person who keeps trying even when something feels wrong. The lights were dim. His laptop was open on the coffee table. He wasn't there. I sat down and noticed the screen was still on. A message notification popped up. It was from Evelyn. "Still thinking about last night? That dress was a mistake." I froze. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I just went completely still. Then another message appeared. "I can't wait to see you again. Don't let Reddy get suspicious." That was it. No more excuses. I scrolled up. Weeks of messages, flirting, hotel names, photos, things I couldn't unsee. I closed the laptop before my body could do something reckless. I sat there staring at the blank screen, realizing this wasn't just betrayal. It was hierarchy. It was permission. My father taught us that Evelyn could take whatever she wanted, and I was expected to understand. I didn't cry driving home. I felt focused, clear, like someone had finally handed me the blueprint of how my family worked. Dad commanded, Mom excused, Evelyn took, and I stayed quiet. They'd spent years perfecting that system. They just forgot I was paying attention. The next morning, I stopped pretending. I didn't scream. I didn't call Evelyn. I didn't confront Daniel that night. I drove home in silence, parked, and sat in my car long after the engine went cold. That was the moment something inside me shut down. Not my heart, my hope. By morning, I was calm in a way that scared even me. I drove straight back to Daniel's apartment. He opened the door in sweatpants, hair messy, pretending nothing was wrong. "Reddy, this isn't a good time," he said, already defensive, already annoyed. I walked past him without a word, opened his laptop, and turned the screen toward him. The last message from Evelyn was still there. "Don't let Reddy get suspicious." His face drained of color. For a second, he didn't speak. Then he did what people always do when the truth corners them. He minimized it. "It wasn't planned," he said quickly. "It just happened. You've been distant lately. You're always calm, always controlled. Evelyn is different. She's confident. She made me feel wanted." I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. "So you accidentally booked hotels with my sister for months," I said. "That's what you're telling me." He tried to take the laptop. I pulled it back. "Relax," I said. "I already saved everything." His eyes widened. "You what?" "I'm not posting anything," I continued. "I'm just collecting information." That's when the guilt vanished from his face. He looked angry, humiliated, like I'd flipped the script on him. "You can't hold this over me," he snapped. "I'm not," I said. "I'm walking away." And I did. I drove straight home. James was already waiting in his office, seated behind his desk like a judge who'd heard the case before the defendant arrived. My mother stood to the side, rearranging papers she didn't need to touch. Evelyn leaned against the wall, flawless as ever, arms crossed, lips curved in a knowing smile. "Daniel called," my father said. "He's upset." "I'm sure he is," I replied. James sighed the way he always did when I refused to play my role. "Evelyn assures me there's been a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding," I repeated. "Is that what you're calling hotel receipts?" Evelyn laughed softly. "Reddy, you're being dramatic. He came on to me. I told him to stop." She didn't even blink when she lied. "Before or after you told him not to let me get suspicious?" I asked. My mother gasped. James slammed his hand on the desk. "Enough. You will not embarrass this family with accusations." "Accusations," I said, "or facts." He stood, towering like he still believed fear worked on me. "You are not destroying your sister's future over a man. Whatever happened, it's done." "It's still happening," Evelyn said calmly. "Not anymore. We're engaged." The room went silent. My ears rang. "Engaged," I said, "to the man you were sleeping with behind my back." James stepped closer. "You will congratulate your sister and stand beside her at that wedding, or I will cancel your scholarship immediately." There it was, the leash, the scholarship I earned, but he controlled through the family foundation. "You want me to smile," I said. "Be a prop." "You'll be her bridesmaid," he said. "You'll show respect. I didn't spend decades building this family for you to tear it apart." I nodded slowly. I could see the relief wash over them. Evelyn smiled. My mother exhaled. They thought I'd folded. They thought I was quiet again. That night, I opened my laptop and started working. I didn't cry that night. I didn't sleep either. I sat at my desk with the lights off, laptop glowing, and for the first time in my life, I stopped asking why this was happening and started asking how it worked. Families like mine didn't survive on love. They survived on systems, on leverage, on silence. So I built my own system. I started with what I already had. Screenshots of messages between Evelyn and Daniel, dates, times, hotel confirmations, photos they never thought I'd see. I organized everything into folders, labeled cleanly, unemotionally, not rage, record keeping. Then I asked myself a harder question. Why Evelyn? Why him? Why now? The answer came faster than I expected. Evelyn wasn't just sleeping with my boyfriend. She was using him. Daniel wasn't special. He was convenient. He worked in business law. He was ambitious. He was another accessory in the image my sister curated so effortlessly. 2 days later, James asked me to drop off documents at the firm. Evelyn wasn't there. Her office door was open. I shouldn't have gone in. Of course I did. Her computer was unlocked. A folder sat on the desktop labeled Mentorship Prep. I clicked. Inside were voice recordings, practice pitches, fake presentations. Evelyn rehearsing the way actors rehearse lines. Most were harmless. One wasn't. Her voice played through the speakers. Daniel's perfect for optics. Smart, presentable, loyal enough. Dean Morrison eats that up. He loves seeing me paired with someone stable. It makes me look serious. My stomach tightened. Dean Morrison wasn't just anyone. He was a respected figure in the legal community, a mentor connected to my father's firm, someone whose approval carried weight. Another recording followed, Evelyn laughing. Dad does this all the time. Control the narrative. Keep people grateful. Keep them quiet. I copied everything. Every file, every recording, every timestamp. I didn't rush. I didn't panic. I saved backups, one on a USB, one in encrypted cloud storage, one hidden among old email drafts. I named the main folder Insurance. If they were going to threaten my future, I was going to make sure I had collateral. That weekend, James hosted a family dinner. Evelyn arrived wearing a ring like it erased everything she'd done. Daniel sat beside her, looking smaller than I remembered. She announced the engagement like a press release. James praised partnership and legacy. My mother smiled like nothing had broken. Evelyn caught my eye across the table. I hope you'll stand with me, she said sweetly. Oh, I will, I replied. Everyone relaxed. They thought the storm had passed. They thought I was back where I belonged. Quiet, contained, manageable. But I wasn't planning to ruin a wedding. I was planning to end the story they'd been selling for decades. The wedding was everything my father wanted it to be. Expensive, polished, strategically impressive. A countryside venue that pretended to be modest while screaming money from every stone. 200 guests, all carefully selected. Judges, senior partners, investors, people whose opinions could open doors or close them quietly. James walked through the space like a proud architect. My daughter's wedding will be remembered, he told anyone who would listen. What he meant was that his reputation would be reinforced. Evelyn arrived radiant, calm, untouchable. She played the role effortlessly, the perfect bride. Daniel followed her like an accessory, smiling for cameras, shaking hands, saying all the right things. If guilt existed in either of them, it didn't show. I arrived alone. My bridesmaid dress was the one Evelyn had chosen months earlier, back when she was still pretending to be my sister. She said the color brought out my eyes. Standing there, it only highlighted the irony. Guests whispered. Compliments floated around me. You must be so proud of your sister. I smiled. You have no idea. Minutes before the ceremony, James pulled me aside near the hallway leading to the bridal suite. He held a folded document in his hand like a threat made of paper. My scholarship contract. You will smile, he whispered. You will stand beside your sister. And if you say one word out of line today, that scholarship disappears tomorrow. I looked at him and nodded, calm, agreeable. He studied my face, searching for cracks, then straightened his tie and walked away, satisfied. Inside the chapel, the guests took their seats. Music swelled. Evelyn walked down the aisle glowing, her hand resting on her father's arm. Daniel watched her like a prize he'd won. The officiant spoke about loyalty, commitment, trust. I felt James's eyes on me from the front row, a silent warning. My mother sat rigid beside him, hands clenched, pretending everything was normal. Then the words came. If anyone here has any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace. Silence stretched. I stepped forward. I do. Every head turned. Chairs shifted. Gasps rippled through the room. Evelyn froze, her smile breaking just enough to show panic beneath it. James stood abruptly. Ready, sit down. I didn't. I took out my phone. Before you say I do, Evelyn, I said evenly, I think everyone deserves to know what kind of partnership they're celebrating today. James moved toward me, his face already red, already furious, but I kept going. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't shake. That scared him more than yelling ever could. I unlocked my phone and began to read. Messages Evelyn had written when she thought no one else would ever see them. Daniel doesn't even notice how easy this is. Reddy trusts me. She always has. A murmur swept through the room. Someone near the back lifted their phone. Evelyn stepped toward me, her voice breaking on cue. Those are fake, she said loudly. She's jealous. She's always been jealous. I scrolled. Here's another one, I said. He's perfect for optics. Dean Morrison loves seeing me with someone stable. It makes me look serious. That name landed hard. Heads turned toward the front row, where Dean Morrison sat beside my father. His posture shifted, his attention sharpened. Daniel tried to speak. Nothing came out. His mouth opened, then closed. Evelyn grabbed his arm. Say something, she hissed. I didn't look at them. I walked down the aisle and handed my phone and a small USB drive to Dean Morrison. Everything is there, I said. Messages, recordings, files, dates. He took them without a word. He scrolled. His expression changed slowly, like steel cooling into something dangerous. When he finally looked up, he didn't look at Evelyn. He looked at my father. "Did you know about this?" he asked calmly. James didn't answer. Dean stood and faced the room. "These materials show deliberate manipulation, falsified professional narratives, and misuse of my mentorship for personal gain." His eyes locked onto Daniel. "Effective immediately. Any recommendation, placement, or professional support connected to my name is withdrawn. There will be a formal investigation." The room exploded. Gasps, whispers, phones openly recording now. Evelyn staggered back, her perfect composure cracking. Daniel tried to protest, but no one listened. James shouted something about lies and family loyalty. Security moved in when Daniel lost control, knocking over chairs, yelling at guests who refused to stop filming. My mother sat frozen, mascara streaking down her face. I didn't stay. I walked out through the front doors into the cold air, my heels clicking against stone. Behind me, the image my father spent decades building collapsed in front of everyone who ever mattered to him. By morning, the video was everywhere. I woke up to my phone vibrating itself off the nightstand. Messages stacked faster than I could read them. Clips, screenshots, headlines. Someone had filmed the entire ceremony from the second I stood up. My voice, Evelyn's face, Dean Morrison's reaction. All of it. By breakfast, the video had crossed platforms. Bridesmaid exposes sister's affair at wedding. Law firm legacy collapses mid-vows. People I hadn't spoken to in years were suddenly proud of me. Strangers called me brave. Some called me cruel. I didn't respond to any of it. James called before noon. I let it ring twice. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" he said, his voice tight with rage and panic. "I told the truth," I replied. "You humiliated this family," he snapped. "Clients are calling. Investors are pulling back. Evelyn's life is ruined." I leaned against the kitchen counter and stared at the wall. "Funny, you didn't seem concerned about my life when she was sleeping with my boyfriend." Silence. Then his tone shifted, calculated. "This isn't the time to be emotional. Call Dean Morrison. Tell him it was exaggerated." "Why would I do that?" "Because everything we built is falling apart." "Then maybe it shouldn't have been built on lies." He hung up. By afternoon, the firm's social media accounts were flooded. People questioned credentials. Old rumors resurfaced. Evelyn's in-laws quietly withdrew funding. Daniel's job offer vanished. The narrative James controlled for decades was slipping out of his hands. That evening, my mother showed up at my apartment. She looked smaller than I'd ever seen her, exhausted, broken. "You didn't have to destroy her," she said softly. "I didn't," I replied. "I stopped protecting her. She begged me to fix it, to think of the family, to think of my father. I listened. Then I told her no." Later that night, an unfamiliar number called. I almost ignored it. "Ready, Carter," a calm voice said. "This is Dean Morrison. I owe you an apology." I froze. "I believe the wrong narrative," he continued. "Your sister and your father presented a very different image. You handled this professionally, quietly, correctly." He paused. "I'd like to offer you a full scholarship transfer and a research position under my mentorship. No strings attached." When the call ended, I sat in the dark for a long time. The same name my father used as leverage had just handed me freedom. The headlines didn't fade. They multiplied. Each day brought a new angle, a new rumor, a new former client quietly stepping away from my father's firm. James stopped calling. Evelyn disappeared online. Daniel went silent. For the first time in my life, the Carter name didn't open doors. It closed them. A week later, I got a message from Oliver Hale. He used to work at the firm as a junior partner years ago. We weren't close, but he was always decent to me. His message was brief. "Coffee. I have something you should see." We met at a small cafe off campus. He looked around before sitting, like he was afraid of being recognized. Without a word, he slid a small flash drive across the table. "You didn't get this from me," he said. "I didn't touch it yet." "What is it?" He hesitated. "Proof. About your father. About you." My chest tightened. "What do you mean about me?" Oliver exhaled slowly. "Years ago, when you applied for internships, Dean Morrison's firm considered you seriously. Your father intervened." I stared at him. "He sent them a letter," Oliver continued, "on firm letterhead, said you were emotionally unstable, that you struggled under pressure, recommended they focus on Evelyn instead." For a moment I couldn't speak. The cafe noise blurred into nothing. "He buried every opportunity that didn't benefit her," Oliver said quietly. "You were never too quiet. You were controlled." I took the flash drive home and plugged it into my laptop. There it was. The letter. My father's signature. Words that painted me as unreliable, fragile, unfit. follow-up emails, internal notes, years of sabotage disguised as concern. I didn't cry. I did not scream. I opened a new email window and uploaded everything. I sent it anonymously to the State Bar's disciplinary office, copying consumer protection for good measure. No message, no explanation, just evidence. 3 weeks later, the investigation went public. Fraud, fabricated recommendations, misuse of client trust. The firm was a house of cards, and someone had finally touched the base. James called once. I didn't answer. The voicemail was predictable. Panic dressed up as authority. "You're destroying everything this family built," he said. No, I was showing what it was built on. By the end of the month, the firm's sign came down. Partners withdrew. Lawsuits followed. My mother moved in with her sister. Evelyn became a cautionary headline. Meanwhile, I moved forward. I transferred programs. I studied under Dean Morrison. I moved into a small apartment with no family name attached to the lease. For the first time, success felt clean. Months passed without noise. That was the strangest part. No calls, no ambushes, no family meetings disguised as concern. Just quiet. I built a routine that belonged only to me. Morning classes, late study sessions, evenings spent walking home with my headphones on, letting the city exist without commentary. The Carter name stopped following me. Professors knew me as Reddy, not James Carter's daughter. Dean Morrison treated me like a mentee, not a liability. For the first time, nothing in my life depended on permission. Then the email arrived. The subject line read, "Whistleblower report, urgent review required." The message accused me of professional misconduct, file theft, sabotage, revenge-driven manipulation. Attached were screenshots that looked convincing enough to slow things down. Within hours, whispers started circulating. Quiet ones, the dangerous kind. Dean Morrison called me into his office that afternoon. He didn't accuse me. He didn't doubt me. He just said, "False claims travel fast. We'll handle this carefully." "I know who did it," I replied. He raised an eyebrow. "You're certain?" "There's only one person desperate enough to try." That night, I pulled apart the attachments piece by piece. The screenshots reused fragments of old email headers. The metadata told a story the sender didn't realize they were leaving behind. IP traces, file properties, sloppy shortcuts. It led straight back to Evelyn. She hadn't learned anything. She was still trying to win a game I'd already walked away from. I forwarded everything to the firm's legal team. "This came from my sister's device," I said calmly. "I believe this qualifies as defamation." They agreed. 3 days later, the firm released a statement clearing my name and publicly identifying the source of the false claims. The rumor died as quickly as it started. What replaced it was worse for her. Evelyn went quiet again. Then her lawyer reached out, proposing mutual silence. Translation, she was afraid. The firm declined and filed suit. A month later, Evelyn issued a public apology. It read like it had been written under supervision. "I take full responsibility for spreading false information about my sister. I acted out of anger and regret." It barely made a ripple. People remembered her name for other reasons now. Dean Morrison called me into his office afterward. He smiled the way people do when they don't need to exaggerate their pride. "You handled this like a professional," he said. "No spectacle, no emotion-driven mistakes." "I learned early," I replied. Years passed. I graduated, built a career slowly, cleanly. My clients trusted me because I never overpromised and never panicked. Quiet, it turns out, was an advantage. Then one morning, 8 years after the wedding, I received an email from a hospital in Florida. "Evelyn Carter, critical condition, listed you as next of kin." I stared at the screen for a long time. She was uninsured, broke, divorced. She had a child, a 6-year-old who hadn't chosen any of this. Evelyn emailed me herself a day later. No manipulation, no charm, just exhaustion. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She asked for help. I agreed under one condition. She signed a full confession. Every lie, every sabotage attempt, every smear. And after that, no contact. Ever again. She signed it. I paid directly through a trust in her child's name. Not to her, never to her. Weeks later, I received a message from that child. A simple thank you. Nothing dramatic, nothing strategic, just gratitude. I sat in the dark that night and understood something clearly for the first time. I wasn't cold, I wasn't heartless, I was finished. They called me quiet because they thought quiet people were harmless. They were wrong. Quiet people watch. Quiet people remember. Quiet people choose exactly when to speak. And when they do, everything changes. I thought that would be the end of it. Closure, distance. silence or in the hard way. But life has a habit of testing the lessons you think you've already mastered. A year after Evelyn's confession and the trust was set up for her child, I started receiving updates from the hospital's appointed case manager. Not messages asking for money, just medical summaries, progress reports, neutral, factual language. Evelyn was responding to treatment. Slowly. Painfully. I didn't ask for those updates. I never replied. But I read every word. Some nights I wondered why. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't love. It was something colder and more honest. Accountability. I had chosen to help without forgiving. To act without reopening the door. That distinction mattered more than anyone realized. Dean Morrison once asked me over coffee, "Do you believe people change?" I didn't answer right away. "I believe people reveal themselves," I said. "Change is optional." My career stabilized into something solid and quiet. I didn't chase headlines. I didn't need to. Clients came to me because I was consistent, because I didn't posture, because I didn't flinch under pressure. Word spread the way it always does when something actually works. Slowly, permanently. The irony wasn't lost on me. Everything my father prized, influence, reputation, authority, I gained without trying to impress anyone. And everything he tried to control slipped through his fingers the moment the truth no longer needed permission. I heard about him occasionally, through legal circles, through people who spoke carefully, like his name was something fragile. James Carter had gone from feared to pitied in under a decade. He consulted quietly, advised behind closed doors, never led again, never trusted the same way. My mother tried to call once. I let it go to voicemail. She didn't leave a message. That was her way. As for Evelyn, she never contacted me again. She kept her word. Or maybe she finally understood that some bridges don't collapse. They dissolve. The only time her name came up was when her child sent me a message every year on the same date. Short notes, updates about school, about liking science, about wanting to build things. I never responded directly. I sent the replies through the trustee. Boundaries are only meaningful when you keep them intact. One afternoon, I walked past the old firm building again. The windows were covered. The sign long gone. A new company occupied the lower floor, its name temporary, its future uncertain. I stood there longer than I expected to. I realized something then. I wasn't standing there to mourn what was lost. I was acknowledging what never existed. The family I thought I belonged to was an image. The love I was promised was conditional. The silence I lived in was imposed. And yet, the quiet I live in now is chosen. People still describe me the same way they always did. Calm, reserved, hard to read. They say it like it's a flaw. I let them. Because I know the truth. Quiet doesn't mean weak. It means deliberate. And the ones who underestimate it usually don't realize what's happening until it's already over.